That's a pretty cool week. And I think that's also very important why we talk about, because the story is long and it goes on for a very long time, how we met again and how you ended up in the war room, etc. But we talk about how important physical violence is and testing each other. And that's what the war room is all about. And I think there's an event. There was an event last week, right?
Yeah, last week in Dubai.
Let's play the video of the event and you can tell everyone about it. Let me get the video. That's the picture. Tell them about the event last week, and let me. Because one of our guys was fighting.
Yeah, so we had a guy called Alan Graves fight in Dubai. So we arranged an event where it was themed around boxing. He was fighting on a Sunday night. We had the event on the Saturday night, and it was themed around suffering, basically. And we had a bunch of guys sign up, a bunch of guys come. And we were doing a 3-hour session in the Dubai heat outside at Tam Khan's gym. Big shout out to Tam Khan, another guy from UWC in Southend.
Legend.
Back in the day. And we trained at his spot. We had about 40 guys come. And I brought these two African guys from Cameroon. You might see in the video. Oh, here's me. Let's listen to me.
All right, let's listen. Let's listen to our friend Luke.
And just pretend to flex and all that bullshit. Buying a suit and looking cool is not what the war room is about. And the more places I visit, the more I see that culture kind of growing. So I'm super happy that you guys came. And some of you guys can fight, some of you can't. Sweet. It's not about that. It's just about showing up, doing something hard to earn the reward. Everyone's just going straight to the reward. You know? It's not about that. It's about fucking doing the work, earning the reward. And that's Andrew's message.
Yeah, that's one of the fantastic things about being a war room member is that you get the shit kicked out of you. And it's the best part. It's the best part. And it's really important what you said there about putting on a suit and putting on a cigar and renting a Lambo and driving around. All of those things, and I've said this a million times, you're trying to signal that you have money. You're trying to signal that you have wealth. But money is an amplifier. It's not going to change who you are. It's only going to amplify who you are. And if you're the kind of person who will turn up to a random sports hall and fight somebody who you don't know who they are and get in there and do your absolute best to destroy that man, and if you're the kind of person who will go then on to the UFC or go on to be a kickboxing world champion because you don't give up and you keep training, and then you get rich, you have a different aura about you than the person who skips all that part and wants to look like a G. So they get the Lambo and they get the cigar and they get the suit, but they skip all the hardship. And you know what? Predators and women have this amazing sense. I'll tell you something. You may be able to fool a bunch of geeks. You may be able to fool a bunch of geeks with your suit and your cigar standing around. But unless you've been through some difficult things, the men who have been through difficult things and women will smell it on you. And they'll just look at you and go, he's a poser. He's fake. And the worst thing you can do is signal to be something you're not when you're not really about it. I saw this. I think I tweeted this on one of my old Twitter accounts. Some guy was talking about some gangster shit. And I said, listen, you don't want to be in that world unless you're really about it. Unless you're ready to grab a knife and stab someone in the neck because it's on site and you'd have a problem with them. You don't want to talk gangster. You don't want to be gangster. You don't want to pretend to be something you're not. You don't want to pretend to be wealthy and pretend to be a G because eventually someone's going to check you. And if you're not really about it, you're going to then get either hurt or you're going to cower or your reputation's going to crumble. You can only fake and lie for so long. God is going to reveal the truth of us all. And the truth about you should be that you're a brave person. And that's what's so important inside the war room. We have a lot of guys with a lot of money who are inside of it. Money is easy. If you want to make money, you can join the war room and make money. That's easy. But to truly test yourself so the money has value, that's the important part. Because I'll tell you this now, man, being rich is great. But being rich without all the other accolades, without the bravery, without the struggle, without the fact that you're not afraid of anybody, without all the hard things you've been through, without all the difficulty, money alone isn't interesting. In fact, it just makes you a coward and it makes you a target. That's all it does. And that's why the war room is so fantastic. And I love when you beat the shit out of everyone. Thanks you, Luke. I appreciate that. And finding these African guys to punch everyone in the face. It was amazing. Great job.
I appreciate that. But I just want to say, like, we talk about this and talk about emotions. Andrew talks about it all the time. And for me, you can think about all the emotions that in the world, but the most important emotion to have control over is anger. Because if you're happy, everyone around you is going to benefit from you being happy. If you're sad, that can turn into anger. If you've got despair, if you got embarrassed, all these things, it's going to turn to anger. And you're going to have ups and downs in life. And when you have those problems in your life, you need to be able to control it and make decisions under pressure. And that is what fighting does. So that's why we put people through this. We break people down. We did 30 rounds of sparring in Dubai in the heat against two 90 plus kilos. One of them was 122 kilo African professional fighters going to be fighting in the UFC very, very soon. So highest level you can imagine. And some guys had never even put gloves on before. But it's not about the level that you're at. We want to break you down and we want to test you and see if you're going to cower, see if you're going to run. And then you get built back up by the brotherhood, by the people, by everything. It's the ethos that makes the War Room so different from every other group of men. I can always get asked, oh, I'm part of loads of groups and they seem boring. It's like, it's not about money. It's not about the next business deal or the next percent you're going to make on this. It's about making yourself a better man.
Absolutely.
And the best way to make yourself a better man is to face fear. It doesn't have to be fighting. It could be a million different things. But if you're not afraid, like you said, to go to Southend, fight some dude that you never heard of or never met before, and step in there, never seen him, and fight another skilled fighter, trust me, you're not afraid of going to some business meeting or talking to some girl or doing anything like that. So the reason we use fighting specifically is because the speed you need to make decisions under pressure and the fear that it makes you feel. And there's, I sparred with those big Africans, and trust me, I'm scared. I'm a veteran, 18 years, whatever. And I'm thinking, fuck, but I do it anyway because I know I got to do it. And then do another 30 rounds and now I want to fight.
Yeah, well, that's it. But you can only fake it for so long, and the bottom line of humanity, especially amongst men and masculinity, has always been the ability to protect. That's the bottom line of masculinity. It doesn't matter what you have if you can't protect those you care about and those you love, and if you're not prepared to stand up and say no, that's enough. We're going to have a physical confrontation here. That you're not really going to be a man, and that is one of the most important tenets of masculinity. Like I said, that predators and especially other women can sense, and we use fighting because we have a fighting background. The War Room does it with lots of different ways. There's lots of different ways we test people and put them through things which they find hard to do or scary to do so they can become better versions of themselves, because then you get to upgrade your character. A millionaire gets to turn up to this event. He's already rich. He already has everything, but he leaves with a different ethos. He leaves being a different person. He feels different inside. He walks differently. He acts differently, and his life improves as a result. And I have endless videos here of you yelling at people about fighting. Here, we also have lunch. Here we go. There's another one, and I think a lot of people understood. A lot of people have heard about the test. I did it, so I told everybody inside the War Room. We're going to play the videos now because that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I told everybody inside the War Room to prepare themselves mentally and physically for a test. This was just before I was arrested last year. And everybody turned up, not sure what they were going to go through, not sure they're prepared for. And they all had to fight professional cage fighters. And they had the choice to pussy out. And some men decided not to fight. And the ones who decided not to fight had to sit there and explain to everybody why they were not brave enough to take the fight. And you heard some people try and come up with cope, and they're injured, and I have work tomorrow, and I don't want a black eye. And you have some people with all the same circumstances, perhaps worse, who got in there and fought anyway. And it wasn't about winning, because I know everybody lost. Everybody lost. It was about getting in there against a man you know you can't beat and being brave enough to do it. That was the whole point of it. And I don't think many men at home understand that when you look at life trying to find challenges you can overcome as opposed to find comfort, you're happier anyway. I am so glad I went to jail. I'm truly glad I got that experience. It was an unexplored area of the map, and I got to go and experience it. It was hard. I've talked about how it's hard. It's a boring story to talk about again. However, I'm glad I got to do it because I know I'm a better person now that I've been through it, and I know that I could deal with it better than I could have before. And what's the point in being a man if you're not going to constantly try and upgrade yourself? And the test was massive for the War Room because everybody who attended, whether they fought or not, learned so much about themselves. And you have to ask yourself this question at home. If you're not part of the War Room, if you don't have a fraternity of brothers which inspire bravery inside of you, if you don't have a group of men around you which are going to force you or push you to do things you would never normally do and encourage you to go over the top and charge at the gunfire so you can be the best version of yourself, when are you even testing yourself in your day-to-day life? You're going to work, you're doing your job, you're sitting with your girl, you're playing video games. Where's your challenges? Where's your test? How are you going to ever improve as a person if the most you do perhaps is sometimes go to the gym and follow a workout routine? There's no challenge, there's no fear, there's no consequence, there's nothing. You're never going to be at the upper echelon of masculinity unless you've been through difficult and hard things. That's the exact point of the War Room, to make you suffer so you can become a better version of yourself. And this is the story of the test, and I'm going to play it because I was particularly proud of the suffering we inflicted on all the members and the lessons that were learned afterwards.
And so it happens that on this day, exactly 500 years ago, Master Po died. After morning exercises, Master Po addressed the adepts regarding a mission to eradicate the Hyarushi clan. Po warned us that the mission was so dangerous as to be deemed impossible, with no hope of return. Po's words were golden. If he deemed this a suicide mission, I believed him.
I welcome you all to the test. In 3 days from now, there is a cage fighting event, and every single one of you has been paired against a professional fighter. This is the beginning of the path. Decide if you're going to do it or not, and you can write yes or no. And that is the most beautiful thing about being a man. I'm starting to get excited now because I'm thinking back to all of the times I looked at something and thought, I really don't want to do this, and the feeling you get afterwards. And most men understand this intrinsically. The reason you want to travel is not because you give a shit about seeing a church in another country or experiencing the culture. No, you probably want to travel so you feel that sense of adventure, you feel a little bit lost, you feel that tinge of danger, you go try to get girls so you feel conquest. It's the masculine imperative to do these things. The same reason you want to sleep with chicks and go travel and do all this other stuff is because you want to feel like, I'm putting myself out there, I'm testing myself. But it's still a sanitized version of what it could be. What you want is men beside you who say, no, you're going to be forced to do something which is you would never do unless you got bravery inspired within you by the people around you. That is what a masculine network's for. That's what your brothers are for. To sit there and say, we can do this. You would never do this unless I do it too. We can suffer and be afraid together. You have no idea the level of camaraderie which exists inside the war room between a bunch of guys with busted faces after this event.